So we have been checking in on the top news stories of the year across the country, and we want to head to Northern Ontario next. From a cold case that was finally solved to a violent epidemic that resulted in one of the worst mass shootings in the area. Ian Campbell joins us with CTV News. He's in Sudbury with the top stories of the year from the region. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, and thanks for joining us, Ian. Thanks for taking the time.
Merry Christmas, Anne-Marie. Great to see you again.
Yeah, listen, we're going to start with a story that's pretty sad. It involves the murder of Renee Sweeney. That happened in 1998. It took a quarter of a century for families to see justice. Tell us more about this one.
Yeah, it was super interesting. This is a case that pretty much everyone in the Sudbury area knew. I remember first moving here about 10, 12 years ago when the photos of the jacket were released. This is something that baffled police for a very long time. The key in this, it was Renee Sweeney was a video clerk who was found butchered in behind a video store desk. I guess the old video stores that we don't have anymore. And when she was found, there was no clue. The person left. When about 5 years ago, they managed to arrest what they thought was the person responsible thanks to a link in Ancestry DNA. Someone submitted their ancestry, turned out to be a long lost cousin of this person responsible. Police were able to cross their T's, dot their I's. This led them to Robert Stephen Wright. It took 5 years to get to trial. This was a long time coming for the Sweeney family. Once it did get to trial, we were in there every single day. We weren't sure how this was going to end out, but it ended up in a guilty plea. Now, finally some solace for the Sweeney family, but it was a very, I had people from all over the city telling me, thank you so much for the coverage. This was something the entire city was glued to. And when that guilty plea came in, you could just feel, the hairs stand up on my arm. This was a tense one for sure.
Those are really intense cases to cover, especially when you're in court day after day, and you are learning the intimate details, some of which you can't even print at times like that. That's really important work that you're doing there in the community, and difficult work on the reporter side and the human side as well. The killing of a mother and three others, that was ruled as intimate partner violence, and that then prompted a declaration of that issue as an epidemic. So what led to that decision, and then where do they want this to go? That was at City Council.
Yeah, this was one of the other major headlines. Unfortunately, a lot of major headlines from us this year, not for a lot of great reasons. This is one that even the House of Commons, they stood up and took notice in. And the city, I spoke with the mayor last week. His year-ender with us is going to air tomorrow night. But we asked him how the city is doing, and he said it was still relatively recent, but they're still trying to cope with what exactly happened. One of the worst acts of violence Sault Ste. Marie has ever seen. They said they wanted to declare intimate partner violence an epidemic because they wanted to force the senior levels of government to act. The province and the federal government, obviously that's in their kind of ballpark with the criminal code. They say they are hoping to see more action on that level. Other cities across our region from the Northeast, from Parry Sound to James Bay, all followed suit from Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay's lead. So they are hoping to see some action, but definitely a city that is still grieving at the moment.
Yeah. You mentioned there was a lot of heavy topics coming out of Northern Ontario this year. We're going to end on one. The final story on your list was the opioid crisis. What made that story especially devastating this year?
I think one of the things that's made it so hard is the fact that we have some of the highest rates of opioid fatalities per capita, definitely in the province, probably arguably compared to other parts of the country. And we have been trying, some of the cities have been trying to get supervised consumption sites. Sudbury and Timmins have moved ahead with municipal funding because they said they could no longer wait. They were promised funding. They said this application is going to go through to the provincial government. Now, I've spoken with some provincial leaders. That funding was supposed to run out at the end of this year. Nurses had even received layoff notices. Some of the local leaders I've been speaking with are afraid here in Sudbury that the premier is just going to try and run out the clock because there's been no action on this front. We are continuing to ask the Minister of Health. We haven't really gotten a straight answer from her, but you go to corners like Paris and Brady in downtown Sudbury, and it's all full of crosses that the community members have put up for a person that they've lost, and the corner's full. So this is something that, the entire city says it pretty much wants action on it in one way or another, and they don't know if they're going to see it. Timmins is in the same boat. They don't know if they are going to get funding from the province. Sault Ste. Marie is a little bit behind the two cities, but they're hoping for a supervised consumption site themselves.
Ian Campbell, I want to thank you for joining us, and happy holidays to you and everybody there at the Bureau. We appreciate you coming on today and highlighting for us what was a tough year for you and the newsroom there in Northern Ontario. Thanks so much.
Same to you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.